Don't blink. It's your boy Ink. Welcome to another video. Welcome to another Friday night beer. It is a Saturday night. It is 9:30 p.m. I'm lying. I'm joking, but not really, because in reality we're playing. Am I saying we're playing? We're gonna be enjoying two beers. My father gave me a Bud Light, and I got a Smirnoff Ice Encore. So vodka and beer. You're gonna hear the legendary double crunch. I got my two earbuds. Can I get some music? No, can I get some music? Can I get some music, please? We're listening to Sick Kid Infected. Raz, va, tres. Bad boy, and I'm King Kong. Nazrovia. Why are we double fisting? Well, I thought it was beer. If it was beer, I would have drank it alone, but it's vodka. Vodka is really strong and gets me fucked up. So, this way, you say never drink liquor. The simple rule not to get drunk. And don't follow my example, okay? But a simple rule to get down. The rule not to get drunk is super simple. Don't mix liquor. So if you're drinking vodka, stay with vodka. Don't go with tequila. Don't go with whiskey. Don't go with bourbon. If you're drinking bourbon, don't go with whiskey. Don't go with tequila. Don't go with vodka. If you're drinking whiskey, just stay with whiskey. This is vodka, so usually you'd stick with vodka, but a beer will level you out. Now, again, it's not a proven science. It's not a factual thing. It is just me experimenting as a non-drinker. Again, you guys are doing well. You guys are having a wonderful evening. Grab a beer. Let's enjoy. By the way, tonight is UFC 300. I'm super excited to see the fight of Justin Gaethje. It's gonna be something else. It's gonna be fucking awesome. So awesome. This is the fight I'm waiting for because again, I don't know. You seem like such a nice guy. You seem like a nice guy, and again, we could talk about how the golden age of Habib and Conor McGregor were the time where UFC was at its peak. But no, we still got Joe Rogan doing the commentary. So as long as we got that, I want DC Cormier because I like DC Cormier, and yeah, pretty much. What's up? Today we're talking about a super interesting subject. So, and you know what's fucking insane? Let me tell you something that's freaking insane. Let me tell you something. So, this morning I was planning. Okay, I was planning my day. I had a day planner, which I said. When I tried film also, and that day planner was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a video today on mukbang. I'm gonna make a mukbang. Can I make a mukbang every single day? And I'm like, okay, well, I've been listening to Kid Behind the Camera, for the last couple of days, so yesterday and today. Now, before you even complain, I understand that you may not like Kid Behind the Camera for multiple reasons, but I'm not gonna talk about negative stuff. I'm not gonna talk about the fact that his channel is a lot different than what it used to be. I'm not gonna talk about negative stuff. I'm gonna mention that I grew up watching him and the father, which was Agree Grandpa of Charles Green and Michael Green and Bridget West and Mia and Michael Green. Now, I'm gonna be mentioning the fact that I've been watching them for 2 days, and so I was like, okay, my subject for the mukbang was gonna be get behind the camera because they got a very interesting subject to talk about, and then it's crazy because then I was like, okay, well, for the mukbang I'm gonna talk about something else because I had another idea that I thought was more interesting. Then I was like, the idea that I thought was more interesting is how YouTube is a legacy, and people are being like retiring and doing whatever they want. And as a newcomer, it's hard because you can see that everything has already been done. And I was like, well, I was gonna talk about Kid Behind the Camera, but no, it's the same thing. It has to do with a legacy. And I'm mentioning Kid Behind the Camera, but this applies to every single OG content creator. We're talking about Casey Neistat, we're talking about Meg Juggernuggets, we're talking about AGP, we're talking about fucking Maxim Mofo, we're talking about DSP, we're talking about Amberlyn Ray, we're talking about Boogie 298, we're talking about Frank versus boyfriend versus girlfriend Frank, we're talking about the Shaytards. Yeah, should I keep on going, or you guys understand the concept? You guys understand the concept? Cool beans. And yeah, that's Rovia. Actually, really good. Usually, beer is better in the fridge, but this one is better outside. See, leveled up. Don't know, don't cry. I'm sick too in the fall. It's a kid infected. So, why I want to talk about Kid behind the camera, and again, I know some people are gonna hate this and are gonna hate on the creator. I'm not defending some of the action I've been seeing, but again, the principle of I grew up watching. You see a lot of people. You look at people that you worship and they've been in jail. You look at somebody that was a good example. You ended up scamming some people. You ended up idolizing this person that ended up selling a product that say that's supposed to be healthy, but isn't healthy. By now you know what I'm talking about. You worship those idols, and the case of Kid behind the camera is actually the perfect case of what I'm trying to say. So the point I'm trying to say is, what do you do when a legend? You do the same thing as a legend. So a little setback. I was 13, 2006 when I discovered Angry Grandpa. And again, I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have the computer. I was happy playing Nintendo 64. I was happy playing Nintendo 64, right? Chilling with my friend after school because I had friends. Believe me or not, I had friends. I know it's hard to believe in. I don't know why you should believe me, but I pinky promise. Fork. When I would come back home, we had this show that I was watching with my parents, and it was the same show every week, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Pardon. Sorry, it's disgusting. Beers, guys, beers has gasified water. Gasified water gives you gas. So when when the weekend when I would go on the computer, right? When I use YouTube, I also mentioned that I would. I mentioned this a dozen time already, a 20, 30 time already. But I would use YouTube, which was one of the easier platform. It's still kind of popular at school, but not so popular. So when I was in high school, when YouTube started, we're talking 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, right? Till 2011, and even in 2011, nobody was talking about YouTuber. Nobody was talking about YouTube as, hey, have you watched this video? Have you watched this YouTuber? Have you watched this video? Have you watched this playlist? Have you heard what happened to this guy and this guy and this guy? Nobody was talking about YouTube like that. We're talking about celebrities, for example, fucking Linkin Park. We're talking about those people because celebrity, but no one from the sphere of YouTube. And by YouTube, how can I forget Filthy Frank? How can I forget that guy? Joji. But anywho, we're going off track. So then I stopped school and I had a period of time where I had more time and I would spend days playing RuneScape and yeah, I still discovered YouTube. And I don't remember exactly how I discovered YouTube. One of those first video content created I watched was Kid behind a camera. Now, the reason why Angry Grandpa and Kid behind the camera were so important and automatically fell in love with the content is because after school I ended up being at my mother's house. At my mother's house, he was an English-speaking home. And at an English-speaking home, I was watching show in English. So I wasn't going to school. I wasn't working. What did I end up doing? I ended up watching the CW the whole day. And by the CW, I was like, what was I watching? If your guess is Maury, Jerry Springer. If your guess is Steve Wilkos. If your guess is George Alex. Then I don't know how you know that, but you're right. You're 100% right. That was everything I was watching. And without talking shit about the people that would go on Jerry Springer and Maury Povich, those people were they would give a show. Either by the situation they were in, or by the person they were. For example, oh, I slept with my neighbor and now I'm pregnant with his baby. And he won't admit, or paternity tests. And it was so much drama. And they would choose the not contestant, be the participant that were not necessarily the craziest, but the one that would give the best show. And by giving the best show, it was a question of, okay, well, guess what? This is what I bring to the table, and this is what I want to do with my time on the show. So, with my time on the show, why am I talking like that? Why am I such an asshole? I don't know. I have no clue. But the reality is, I fell in love with those people. I fell in love with their story. I fell in love with even Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was bringing people, and it sucks because what I'm gonna say is totally up to you to agree or disagree. I'm not making a statement. I'm not being factual. I'm giving you an opinion, and that opinion should be taken as such. It's an opinion. It's not a fact. Okay. Thank you. Dr. Phil, Maury Povich, and Jerry Springer. Although are people well, less Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, but Jerry Springer, I actually love Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer, in rest in peace, Jerry Springer, rest in peace. I absolutely love Jerry. Jerry was my favorite. I did like Maury, but Jerry was so fucking awesome because Jerry was, and again, I don't mean to be judging, but Jerry was this normal guy, this smart guy who was around people who were crazy. Jerry Springer was this dude who was in a circus, but was a spectator. Like, oh my god, it's a fucking circus, and I'm stuck inside of it. And he had those rational thoughts, and he had those advice. And the guy was smart, but he wasn't judging. He wasn't being like, hey, you're fucking the head, right? And he would have done that. He might have thought it, but he was still being respectful. And that's why I love Jerry Springer so much, because he was being able to be smart. He was able to be intelligent. Even at the beginning of the show, believe me or not, this was on national TV, believe me or not, but at the beginning of the show of Jerry Springer, you had a stripper. Now, I'm gonna let you guys know a little fucking secret, okay? A little secret. I was 12 years old, okay? I was 12 years old and I finished high school, and there was a day camp, a summer camp that I would go to. And the summer camp was like, well, if you're more than 12 years old, you're too old. My mother was like, well, we'll bring you to a summer camp that was for adults, where I learned English. And the fact that I'm speaking to you in English today so well, thank you very much for complimenting my tongue. The reason is for my mom and bringing me to these summer camps. Thank you, Ma. But at my father's house, I would spend a month, and in that month, my father and his girlfriend, Nat, they were both working, so I had the house for myself. Now, another subject that I could talk about another time, the fact that even at the age of 9 and 10, I was left home alone. And it was a blessing because again I had the whole house to myself, and it was weird because you shouldn't let you possibly you probably shouldn't leave a kid that young in that house alone for one and simple reason. This one and simple reason is because not necessarily they're going to be a bad person, not necessarily they're going to be an asshole, not necessarily they're going to do something bad, but the reality is as long as you had that kid in your household, um, your presence is important. The fact that you're socializing, the fact that this kid doesn't feel left out of activity, you should be including him, right? It's not a rent. It's just a notion, right? But then again, they were doing fucking walks along the water park, the lakeshore. I didn't care, but I was being left alone, and even in the day, I was being left alone. Now, in the day, I was 12 years old, so we're talking about 2005, right? And 2005, I had a Nintendo 64. And for my gamers out there, I used to play Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And for the very first time, I was speaking English. So this game, that was such a cool game, I finally understood. So I would play the whole entire day. Just fuck around, just play around. And I would play from 7. I knew my father's girlfriend, my father would leave the house at 5:45, a shitty time, shitty time, right? And his girlfriend, she would leave at 7 o'clock, and I would wake up at 7:15. Not because I wanted to, not because I had to, because I had the home to myself, and I could do anything I want. I would bring the those days are the best. I would bring a bag of cereal downstairs because we had a basement, and that basement was mine. Nobody was going there except for me. And it was such a fucking nice place. It was cool. I was alone. I was left alone. I would watch my show the whole day. And I would play Zelda the entire day. Except for at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, I would switch. And what I would switch to is Jerry Springer. And I remember seeing this stripper and being like, this show is a shit show. And I'm here for it. So Jerry Springer. Maury was also good, but Maury was more of a participant, as in Jerry when actually gets involved, Maury was like, "Oh, you should be a father," and you had Steve that was very very very, very Steve Wilkos. Again, I don't want to talk about Steve Wilkos in a bad fashion because Steve Wilkos partake in my upbringing. But you had three different hosts. You had Jerry, Maury, and Steve. I would watch them every single day. And they're also on Nosy now. You can find it for free on YouTube. But Jerry was gonna be like, "Oh, I understand. I'm trying to involve myself." He's asking the question. It's like, "Okay, well, do you think that's okay? Do you think that should be you should be doing this? Why are you doing this?" As in Maury was like, "Oh, this is not cool. You shouldn't be doing this." And he was not necessarily passing a judgment, but he was giving his opinion as to where Jerry felt like a bystander. Jerry felt like a spectator, just like us. And yet Steve, who was an ex-police officer, who had a very good sense of justice and what's right and what's wrong and righteousness. But Steve, the problem with Steve was that Steve would get involved. Steve would say, "Okay, well, I understand what's going on. I understand who's the guilty person, who's the worst of the two people." And Steve, he would bring like a child predator on his show, and he would be violent to them. And that is absolutely it's his show. I'm not saying that the people that hurt kid like that don't deserve violence, but I'm saying that by you showing that it's okay to abuse them, then in the street, those people are gonna get abused, and then those people, it's complicated because you shouldn't protect CP, or I'm talking about CP as an example, but there's also like a sexual assault, sexual SA, right? And Steve had this as this not pendomanium, but Steve had this he would actually attack them. He would treat them like shit, and that's okay because they deserve it. But at the same time, Steve was having a show. He had an earpiece. Now, if you're seeing the show on the street, you're gonna be wanting to recreate that, and then you feel like you're justified because Steve did it, but it doesn't mean that it's legally allowed. So, for example, if you beat up somebody because they did something awful, well, you beat up that person, and that counts as a battery or assault, and then you could go to jail. And if your excuse is, "I saw Steve do it," so Steve was a bit too involved, a bit too aggressive. It was like, okay, well, you're bringing this piece of shit on the show. You're exposing them, which is great, but it feels like you're only bringing them to abuse them. And if you abuse a bad person, it doesn't make you a bad person. If you're constantly abusing people, deserve it or not, then you're a bad person. Because at the end of the day, I understand that you're an ex-police officer, but it doesn't mean that you make the law. So I grew up watching these three shows. And these three shows, although were great, you know what's the craziest thing? At 12, I would watch Jerry. Then at 18, I would watch Jerry. I would watch Maury. I would watch Steve. And then when I went in the apartment, I was able to get the CW. That was all I was watching the whole entire day. I swear to fucking God, okay? I swear. What I would do is, there was this. So, I remember, I remember 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, there was Jerry Springer. Then I remember it being Maury, and then Steve, or Steve and then no, I think it was Steve then Maury, and or it was Steve. No, it was Steve, Maury, and Jerry. Yes, and I would go to sleep a couple hours, right? So, so when I could wake up at 3 and watch Jerry Springer, and then I would be doing my normal shit during the day, and during the night I would sleep less because I already slept. I already took a nap. Um, so those three shows took me, but those three shows had the same flaws. They introduce those characters. They introduce those people that are surreal. They introduce those people that don't make sense. They're not logical, right? And then you're like, I want to know more about them, and I want to know more about why are they like that. But they wouldn't give you this. They wouldn't give you this window in their life. Is like they're in for this show and that's it. You'll never hear from them again. Every single person that we bring to the stage has no fucking meaning after this show. I'm not saying they're irrelevant. I'm saying that you're introducing this character, you're introducing those people, but after that, you're not giving the closure that we need. Did the situation get better? They don't tell you. So again, I fell in love with Angry Grandpa and Michael. Started to get a bit tipsy. I fell in love with Michael and Angry Grandpa because again, those people were that. They were dysfunctional. You had Angry Grandpa that was swearing, that was being violent, that was breaking shit, and you had Michael that was like, yeah, I instigated it, but then after that, I repaired a broken pot. Michael and AGP felt like this crazy, and I feel bad calling these people crazy. Well, because technically in Jerry Springer, especially in Jerry Springer, like those people, like oh you got cheated on, and the fact that you got cheated on, the way you got cheated on, because again they made sure that the story was funny. You would kind of laugh at that. It's like holy shit, this is such a stupid thing. Like for example, the what you call it, the oh my god, I remember at Maury, it was this girl, right? She brought like 30 guys for paternity tests, right? And then the first 15 time you're laughing, but then at 30 you're like you feel bad for her, right? And then you had the Jerry Springer, and you feel, although it was a funny situation, you still felt bad for those people. And with Michael and Angry Grandpa, you had that situation where that guy was breaking things. That guy was, Michael was antagonizing his father, but then brought something, and he was like, "Well, I'm gonna fuck shit up, right?" And then he would film it, and you would be a spectator. But then again, you had a resolution, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, it's okay, don't worry about it." And that felt good because you had the highs and lows of family. I lived at my father's house. My mom and me were very similar. My mom and me were very emotional people, and by being very emotional people, we're not afraid to speak our mind. My father's more stable. My father, sorry, my father's more factual. My father's more like, hey, guess what? We're gonna be having a talk. This is how I feel, and even sometimes he's not gonna tell me how he feels, and you have to ask him, "You okay with that?" And even then, it's like I don't know. My mom, if you ask her if she's okay with that, she'll say yes or no. Yes or no? She asked me to stop filming yesterday. She felt uncomfortable and she didn't tell me before. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I respect that. So we're not gonna see her on camera anymore, which sucks. But me and my mom were very emotional, and by seeing that, you're like, we me and my mom we're more likely to fight because we're both emotional. But my father's gonna see that if I get angry, he's gonna step back and say, okay, whatever, and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna feel bad after, but I'm not gonna fight with him. No, I do fight, and Michael and Charles, they felt like that. They were fighting, and then again, you had the guy who Charlie, who was a fucking complete mess, who was this more than amazing character, and I somehow saw my dad in that because again, it was a relationship between father and son, and I saw my dad in that. My father was again not emotional but very factual. So when something was pissing him off, he would tell me. I remember him getting a ticket, and him telling the police officer, "You can shove the ticket up your ass," right? And I was like, "Holy shit, my father's a badass." And it somehow felt like Charles or AGP was doing, and it brings me to the subject of today, and so I watched those two for a while. I watched the AGP movie for a while. I watched them for so long. I remember I watched them until AGP died. And then I started watching the old videos again. And I took a huge break from it because like I was like, okay, well he died, so kind of sucks, you know. And then there was a bunch of bullshit with Tina, with Doug, with Charlie, which was Michael's brother. It just sucks, you know. And the issue with that is that, like, I fell in love with those two because again, you had Charlie or you had AGP who was very emotional, very himself, very true to himself, and you had Michael that was funny. And it's crazy because I always talk about the show Kenny versus Penny because I love and Penny. I love Kenny Hotz. I love the show, but Kenny wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't for Penny, and HB wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't for Michael, and Michael wouldn't be as funny if he wasn't fucking around with Charles. There was this video I remember he told his father, "Hey, we're smoking weed," but no, it was catnip, and it was so fucking funny. And then Michael, there's always there's what I remember where he's dressing up as a woman, and he's like, "Dude, I came as a Tinder date for my father." So that was super funny, and I think that we're not normal. And again, you could tell me, yeah, those two people are horrible. I'm not saying they didn't do anything wrong, but again, like, I grew up with these people, you know? I'm not trying to forgive it, but I cannot change my past, and I'm not gonna change my past because some people believe that what they're doing is wrong. I do believe that if what I'm hearing is true, I do believe it's wrong, but until I got the confirmation, I can't say anything. So yeah, so what I was trying to say also is that the subject of this video is legacy is, can you do something better? Can you do something good? No. I feel bad for Michael. When I do say he's the perfect example, because people, they tune in the channel for whom? For him. You're seeing PewDiePie, and it's crazy because yesterday I was talking about Cinnamon Toast Ken and how I love the reaction content that he does. And I was like, I didn't like reaction content before that, but because of him, I'm liking this reaction content because it's things that I wouldn't check out by myself. It's things that I wouldn't check out on my own. And by the fact that we're seeing that, it's kind of cool because I get to watch those shows, and I'm happy because I do get to see what's up. But with all that being said, the reason why Cinnamon Toast Ken got really popular was because he was discovered by PewDiePie. Well, the reason why Kid Behind the Camera has this channel today, has his follower today, is because of AGP. Like, I was watching a video today. AGP died, I think it was like 10 years ago? No, I was working at Quebec. Give me a sec. See, the guy died in 2016. And, I mean, of course it's a sad news, but it's a really sad news that AGP died. I love that guy. AGP was a father for a lot of people. It was beloved. But what happened for Kid Behind the Camera was even worse. He lost a father, and every conversation that he had was how great his father was. He wasn't allowed to mourn properly because people kept saying, "Hey, I miss your father, I miss your father, I miss your father." The crazy thing. Nobody loved AGP as much as Michael did. Nobody loved Michael as much as AGP did. Maybe appreciate maybe these kids now, because yeah, Michael's the father now. And brings another situation. A lot of people were watching Michael just because of AGP. A lot of people were watching AGP, just watching AGP. If you watch, like I was talking, Cinnamon Toast Ken was discovered by PewDiePie. But if you look at PewDiePie sub count and Cinnamon Toast Cinnamon Toast Ken sub count, it's very different. And the reality is, it can be similar. You can work in time, but people are going to have a preference. And this brings us to the topic of today, the legacy. How do you beat something that was better than you? How do you beat something that was already done? Michael's whole legacy was that him and his father had this beautiful relationship. His father wasn't there. So you see, the thing that made him the way he was, the thing that made him famous, was gone. And then you have to say, okay, what makes me relevant? So he lost a lot of followers. He became more desperate for views, which included the clickbait, which included the action. He was also very hated because Michael said, "Oh, I have so many videos of AGP," and he didn't release them. And he kept saying, "I have more, I have more, I have more," but he didn't have. So he lied. But then again, you have to understand it. Like, the thing that made you the person you are today isn't there anymore. So what do? How do you maintain that bar? Well, you try to do your best. You try to do your best. You try to do what you can. Then you notice. So the craziest thing is when you because Michael had a lot of hater, which was Doug, which was the father of Bridget and Charlie, his brother, and even Tina, and then when you ask him why he has a hater, is because he's gonna say, well, because we introduced them, we gave them fame. They don't understand how hard it is to do YouTube. They don't understand the struggle and the whatchamacallit, the grind to get there. And it's funny because he said that when they're talking about themselves, nobody cares, but when they're talking about him, they care. So, but Michael did the same thing with AGP. I have a lot of videos, so stay tuned. I'll post videos. Stay tuned. Stay with us, right? And then, for the longest time, I stopped watching because it was entirely just clickbait. And then he had his daughter, and you were happy for him. You were happy because he became father. The content changed, and then he had his son, and now it's family content. That is insane because when you start watching them, they weren't parents. And then you say, there's a lot of YouTubers that you haven't watched that became parent too. Well, yeah, but I didn't watch them. If I don't watch them, it's hard for me to care because I don't know them. And I know this makes me sound like an asshole, but it's the truth. So yeah, so then now Michael is doing some family content. And it sucks because although the family content, it's really sucky. Because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm really happy for him that became a parent. But if you look at his comments, people are still talking about AGP, which 7 years after is a fucking legacy. But nobody talks about Michael. And they say the comment I saw today was full of hate again. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I would be able to. I love making videos, but if all I was known for was collaborating with somebody else, if all I saw was negativity in my comments, I don't know if I would do it. I don't know if I would do it. I don't know. And it's tough because you're the only victim of your success. You created this bigger than nature phenomenon that was AGP. And now you're stuck being yourself, and you're being yourself doesn't work. You know? It's really tough. It's really tough because at the end of the day, you're not sure what's going on. You're not sure how to repair this. How can I beat something that was stronger than me? And again, I do feel bad. I do really feel bad because this is what YouTube is becoming. With the popularity is getting the actors, not the actors, but the kind of the actors of YouTube. For example, Mr. Beast. I swear to God, if even Mr. Beast, Good Mythical Morning, which is Red and Link. If you watch TV, I have a Roku TV. Let me show you guys. I'm a bit drunk. I have a Roku TV. Yeah, I'm a bit drunk. Look at the Roku TV. I'm gonna show you Mr. Beast, which is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And then you're like, bro, are you stupid? There's a lot of YouTubers that did things outside of YouTube. Like if you look at Freddy, which was one of the first YouTube giant, Fred Fiddlehorn, which is somebody I talked about in this very channel. If you watch him, you're like, holy shit, this guy made TV, did some Nickelodeon. But Mr. Beast, bigger than nature, Mr. Beast is more popular than a lot of shows. Mr. Beast is one of the most popular thing in the world right now. And it's always talked about in a positive fashion, which is unthinkable. But you create this legacy, and this is what YouTube is becoming. Like, everything that matters is view count, is subs count. And you feel bad because that's why I was talking about Kid Behind the Camera today. You feel bad because it's not about the view count, it's not about who you are, but if you're constantly being referenced to somebody else, you have no self-value. And when you live in a world where views, where likes, where comments equate to your greatness, to your likableness, equates to the fact that people care about you. That's crazy. How many people gonna take pic in their underwear just for likes? This is the society we live in today. And by making those videos that I fucking love doing, by the way, I'm partaking in this very context. I'm partaking. I'm drunk now. I'm partaking in this very experiment, this very social experiment, where as a human being, I put my life on the internet. My mom, she said, I don't want to be in your content anymore. I don't want to be filmed anymore. My father never wanted to be filmed, and it feels like I'm, I'm alone. Not alone because I got you guys, but it feels like I'm alone, right? And I always understood that I cannot force upon them my choices. I cannot um, say, hey, you have to do it for me. That's not nice, but it's a crazy thing, and you know, maybe everything I'm doing right now is for nothing. But even if it was for nothing, the simple fact that I evolve as a person, thanks to these videos, thanks to understanding what I was saying, thanks to understanding my vision, by rewatching those videos when I'm bored, maybe this is the way I'm gonna evolve. I'm gonna become a better person, but it's that relevancy is if you count it like count. And this works, I'm gonna become a bigger part of the system, which is my income or my survivalhood is gonna be via likes and comments and the money I'm making by making videos. And then you gotta understand that, well, my survival equates from that. If I don't pay my rent, then I'm out on the street. What do I have to make rent? Well, I have to make more video, make better content. And if I don't have the talent necessary to make better content, then I have to use like clickbait and shit like that. I wrote a title first for a video, and I wrote "Goodbye Community. Thank you for the laughs." And somebody came in and was like, "Yo, I thought by reading the title, I thought it was like you were gonna unalive yourself." And the reality is, when I wrote that title, and I published it the next morning, I've always checked. Okay, every single one of my videos that's uploaded, nice. But even reading the title back, I was like, "Holy shit, this sounds sad," and I kept it. I kept it because I was like, "Cool." It does sound clickbaity, but that's a good title. But if it's a good title, it's not because it was smart. It's just because it sounded like something was gonna bring attention, and I fucking hate that. Fucking hate being. Fucking hate the fact that I preferred having a good title. I prefer having a title that was gonna bring views or that was gonna bring attention than having a good title. And I should strive for greatness, not for attention. Because when you strive for attention, you don't improve as a person. And when you don't improve as a person, people don't care. They want to see you evolve as a person. I'm talking about Kid Behind the Camera. Kid Behind the Camera came from being the son of to the YouTuber to the father. And he's still remembered as a son. See? I don't know. I'm drunk as fuck. Love you guys. Peace. If you're lying high and you're the same low.